Hey everybody, we're back through this second pass through all of the core fighters from Street Masters Rise of the Kingdom, and we moved up in complexity to third rating. And in the core box, that means Brandon. And he has an ability called Combo Effects on every single one of his cards outside of his main fighter card. And that is going to allow you to do something special, possibly chain crazy amounts of attacks, and everything from a combo effect for the most part is going to happen while it's in your hand. So the best thing you can do with Brandon is understand when it's the wrong time to play a card instead of just holding on to it. So let's take a quick look at his basic action. As you can see, he has a lot of health, 20 health, and he flips pretty fast with only 5 energy. You are most of the time going to be keeping him on his charge side, which is great because, as you can see, his back fist is only an attack for 1 dice, and you can reveal a card from your hand and resolve its combo effect. Revealing doesn't mean discarding, it just means showing it in some way. Basically, you're just picking a single card to resolve a combo effect, and that's going to change up when you charge. And as you can see here, once he's charged, he gets Dragon's Reach, and the attack becomes 3 dice, and he can reveal each card in his hand and resolve the combo effect of each card revealed. That means in a game like Street Masters, where there is no limit to hand size, you can get every single thing in one hit. All 24, I believe, cards in his deck will be accessible with all of their combo effects just from the basic action. And you will have a pretty easy time generating defense tokens and dealing little bits of damage here and there and rolling a lot of dice, so you're going to be getting a lot of defense tokens from him. And you will find it fairly easy to stay charged. And once you have 15, 20, however many cards you're able to get into your hand going off, nothing is going to be able to stop you. So let's look at the cards and see what those combo effects are. First one's going to be on a tactic, Chameleon Stance, and this is your healing card. If you have an extra copy of Chameleon Stance and you play one, you will be able to exhaust it, have a card come out of your discard pile, and then discard again to resolve its combo effect. If it happens to be a second copy of Chameleon Stance that you're doing this with, that means every single turn you can be dealing, getting an extra heal every single turn, which is great, in addition to whatever else might be in your hand. One of the things to keep in mind is, while this card is ready, what does that mean? It means use the exhaust at the end of everything else that you want to do in order to bump up your attacks by +1. This is a starred card, so you can only use one on the table at a time, which means that you're only going to be getting 1 extra die, but that means you're going to have your basic attack have 2 damage, or 2 dice worth of damage, and your charge attack have 4. It's very, very helpful all around, but it's one of those things where you might have to keep it in your hand for a while if you think you're going to be taking a lot of damage at first, or you're otherwise concerned about the amount of enemies. If you start getting to the point where your combo effects are being utilized elsewhere to maybe exhaust a minion, that's when it's the time to place this card down and start getting the attack power out of it. Another tactic is Bite Back, and this allows you to, on the combo effect, gain defense tokens of your choice and deal general damage to anyone engaged with you. So you can deal crazy amounts of damage, whittle away lots of defense, and gain a lot of defense every single turn if you keep this in your hand. But when are you going to take it out of your hand? When you're starting to take too much damage, or you have a lot of minions around you and you're worried, because this allows you to reduce the damage of any damage that you take by 1, and then resolve the combo effect of anything in your discard pile. So it also says that you can discard the card to get an extra attack, but I don't think you're ever going to really do that except in extreme situations. Being able to resolve the combo effect of cards in your discard pile is great. So one of the things to think about is yeah, it's nice to be able to resolve these things from your discard pile, but when you start charging and getting a lot of power, then the things in your discard pile are less useful. If you had them in your hand, you can use them every time that you attack with your charged up attack, which could happen every turn, as opposed to maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, maybe it'll effective, maybe it won't. If you have to do all these extra combo moves if you use the exhausts. So whatever your playstyle is, I still think that the best time to start dropping bite back and cards like this is after you have enough of the tokens that you otherwise would be able to pick up by having it in your hand, and you think you're going to start going after the boss. That's when I think you should lay down bite back. It's a waiting game. Patience will be rewarded. And finally, for tactics, we have Viper Stance, and this is not a starred card, which means you can have all of them out on the table at the same time, which is great, and it will allow you to exhaust to buff up a single attack with an extra die. If you had Chameleon Stance out at the same time, then that means you can get extra 4 dice on a single attack, and that's going to probably make it so you can get rid of whatever enemy that you're looking for, especially if you do it from your charge side. Combo effect, though, is to be able to draw a card or move spaces. If it's in your hand and you're still gathering cards, I would say 8 or 9 cards is about the time when you should start setting Viper Stance out. You don't need to draw quite as many at the time because there's only 20-ish cards in the deck. So it's like 24, 23, 24, whatever the count is. And after about 8 or 9, you got almost everything. You're ready to go, and you probably can get to 8 or 9 if you have Viper Stance in your hand within 4 turns. So I would say that would be about the right time to start focusing on doing additional damage and worrying less about card draw. And as you can see at the end of the video, per normal, when I start talking about allies, if you want to use an ally or another fighter along with Brandon, then you're going to be able to do insane card draw very early no matter what. You might be able to get to 8 or 9 cards in 3 turns. So that being the case, I think Viper Stance is probably going to be one of the first ones that you put down and start beefing up your attacks, and that should help you out quite a bit, because I don't think you will need the movement so much. At a certain point, you're going to be trying to get enemies to group together so that you can beat them up. So when it comes to other cards, what do you got? Well, with Dragon's Teeth, it is a pretty powerful attack. It is his only kick move, I think, and you'll be able to get 5-6 damage on it pretty quickly. But it's also your main source of power. So if you are going to play this card, make sure you're going to be able to continue to play and gain power through the discard combos, and you should be fine from there. And it will also allow you to discard itself to reveal another card from your hand if that's what you wanted to do, and if you needed to get 2 combo effects at the same time. An interesting time of use for this is definitely when you're able to keep cycling to get that extra power. But keep in mind, it's all this revelation, it's cards from your hand for combo effects. You can't really do much combo magic if you've played the card. So all the tactic cards and things like that, if it's not in your hand, you're not going to get its combo effect. And so keep that in mind and do all the discard dancing that you need to do in order to keep that power going, because otherwise you're missing out on a possible 3 power each time that you use your regular attacks, and especially when you do your giant charged attacks, you would be generating up to 3 power, and that's just 2 away from keeping the charged on all the time, and you're definitely going to take that many hits. So this is one of those must stay active, whatever it takes, keep it active kind of cards. Flip kick's kind of interesting in this context because it allows you to deal 2 kick damage to each enemy, so it's not an attack. It doesn't gain any bonuses from being an attack. It's just dealing straight 2 damage, but then you get to resolve the combo effect of any card in your discard pile, and its combo effect makes you discard a card from your hand. So it's not move or discard. You're going to have to move, and if you do move, then you also have to discard. That being the case, play this one. You probably aren't going to use it for its combo effect very often, but it'll at least let you be able to use something else that you've already had to discard for whatever reason from your pile and get some damage. You're probably going to need to do some type of attacks here and there, and just a little extra isn't too bad. So use this card if you need it. Then the half-inch punch is super tempting to use because obviously it's inspired by the famous Bruce Lee punch, and the thing of it is you could be gaining defense tokens from enemies at range from you, so that weakens them and strengthens you. But what happens if you did do the punch? What if you just needed to do it? You just had it in your head. You're like, oh, I watched so many martial arts movies. I watched Enter the Dragon last weekend. I need to do something. I gotta do the half-inch punch. There's no telling me no. I Kill Bill's next on my viewing list. I just have to do it. Okay, it's fine. So what's gonna happen? You're gonna punch the enemy, and they're going to move in a straight line away from you. The retreat the target follows the retreat rules, but if it does not make it 3 spaces, if it hits into another enemy and stops, then it's like it's going to fly into those enemies and deal damage to them. So everybody that it encounters that it's adjacent to in that straight line is going to suffer 2 direct damage, and that may just be too cool for you to give up, and maybe you'll play it from your discard pile. I think it's still better to have in your hand, but you know, I understand sometimes you just got to do something cool, and this is one of those. And then we have the nunchaku grab. If you're going to be in a big mass of enemies, you have at least 2 enemies that you need to attack, I would suggest using this as a finishing move, because you're going to start by exhausting a minion, and then you'll do the attack, but you get an additional die if there are no ready enemies engaged with you. So if there's 2 enemies out there, then do something that allows you to use its combo effect, and that will exhaust minion A and let you take some defense from them, and then play the card and be able to exhaust minion B and get the extra attack die out of it. So that is the most effective way to do that. If you are not surrounded by enemies and you just want to be able to hit a single enemy, just keep it in your hand and attack, and then use its combo effect to exhaust the enemy. So only when there's a group of 2 or more do I think that it makes sense for you to do this. And keep in mind, it says minion. That is not going to work on a rival, and it's not going to work on the boss. But if you have at least 1 of these in your hand, you can spend the rest, do whatever you want to do, but at least 1, I think you're going to be in tall cotton. Then we have Viper Jab, which is probably the most potent combo effect that Brandon has, because it allows you to deal a direct damage to an enemy engaged with you. That's any enemy, which includes the boss and rivals. If you've got all 3 of these in your hand and you happen to pull off a charged attack, then that's 3 direct damage. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I don't think that 1 space of movement and 2 attack dice and revealing the top of your deck to put a card in your hand or discard it, to resolve a card's combo effect, then discard or draw isn't enough to give away up to 3 damage every single time you attack. So yeah, for me, this never leaves my hand. It's never in the discard. It is always in my hand, ready to go off whenever that charged effect goes off. Then we can take a look at the story stuff, and as always, you can put anything together that you want. It's not going to interrupt your story flow, but you have to put in Isabella as a rival. She's not that hard to defeat. You can get her later, worry about her later. The cool thing that's going to pop in is the film crew, because he's a movie star. He's based on a movie star. He is a movie star. And it's going to allow you to start your round off, your game off with an extra card and an extra defense token, which is nice. This is not something that you get every single round. It's only at the beginning of the game. and try not to get defeated. So after that, you can exhaust film crew and get one of your guard results switched over to a hit. And one of the time, oh man, a guard is never bad. There's no bad dice in Street Masters. It's just, but there are times when you really just needed that one hit in order to take out a minion or do something that you wanted to do. And this mitigates that and makes it a little easier to do some damage, which is nice. If you are unable to continue with the film crew, then you are going to lose power and defense every single time that you are not engaged with an enemy by the time you get to the end of your turn. I think this should go in your threat area as far as an activate, but nothing else would seem to make sense of where you're going to put it. So it doesn't describe it there, but put it in your threat area. It makes sense. Then we take a look at how Brandon behaves as both an ally and a rival, and they are exactly the same. They have same health, same defense tokens, same attacks, same action. They will move and attack for 2, and then they'll move and attack for 2. So if they defeat somebody, then they'll move to the next one. Otherwise, they might stay in the same spot. It says to advance. They don't necessarily need to move to advance, follow the advance rules, and it will depend on if they're engaged or not once they've done the attack. So that's it. Basically, they're your friend or your foe, and they're very consistent in either capacity. As far as who's a person that's good to buddy up with our friend Brandon, well, I would say Bonnie from the Cifarella family is a good one, because she has this interact effect that not only allows you to draw a card, but you gain 2 random defense tokens. So it's just like the defend action, but you get a card to go along with it. And I don't think you're going to be using too many of your early actions for anything other than card draw anyway. So it's a great opportunity to be able to do that. The next thing that might be useful for you with James Wong is that he has the ability to attack and have whoever the target is discard a card it controls. It has the option to either discard or suffer direct damage, and that's going to be your decision as to how the boss is going to react to that. If they have nothing to discard, then they would suffer the direct damage. Otherwise, they would prefer to discard whatever it is that they control. Now, Brandon doesn't have the ability to do that on his own. Natalia can do it with Disarm, and there's some other folks and ways that you can be able to do it. If you have Aftershock and the new loot, there's some new ways of doing that. But otherwise, this cop from Brook City and the Keys to the Kingdom set will be very helpful for you to handle somebody like Ah Long and his heavenly, I forget what it is. It's like heavenly flames or something like that. Whatever the cards are that are very, very difficult to deal with. You're going to want to have someone like him around. And then there's Miss Matrix, and when she exhausts, she can choose a fighter to draw a power and draw a card and gain a power. Well, you need cards in your hand, and any amount of power that goes to you, since you can potentially get 3 per round. Now you've made that to 4 per round, and now you only have to manage to find 1 power on your own in order to stay flipped every single round. You get hit by 1 minion that does 2 dice of damage, and that's pretty much consistently going to keep you powered up all the time. And she has a fair amount of health at 8, so she can stick around a little bit, and does a pretty good attack for 3, so she's useful. I would say out of everybody here, it's probably the best option available to Brandon is to have Miss Matrix as an ally. And that's pretty much it for Brandon. He seems simple, just keep stuff in your hand. Alright, that's how it works. We're going to continue the series and finish off the retail core box on the next video. And hope you guys have a wonderful time. If you want to hear more, you can always go to the description and it will show you the playlist of everything that's been made for Street Masters. It'll also give you a link if you wanted to watch the old stuff that I made for Street Masters. If that's helpful to you, it's there. It's also on my channel where I do Kickstarter reviews of every campaign that's on the market. At the time of whenever you watch the videos, you'll be able to see everything available to you, not just in board games and tabletop games, but also war games, 3D printed models, regular models that you can get in resin or metal die cast for your RPGs or whatever war games that you like to play. So stuff like that. I usually do 40-ish, maybe on a big week, 80 to 100 campaigns per week. So yeah, it keeps you very well informed. If you want to go over there and subscribe, that would be great. Have a good one.